Hey guys, it's Pricey. I thought I'd give a walk around on my Landcruiser. It's a 1985 model. It's got a small block Chevy in it that's been stroked to 383. It's got 6-inch rods in it too, so it's long legs, short skirts, 9:1 compression ratio. It's got a Borg Warner S400 turbo on it. All the fabrication that you see on the car is either done by myself or a good friend of mine, Joe Stavala. The exhaust work was done by Hurricane Exhaust. Also, I've had a shout out to a good friend of mine, Armandio, who's also helped me with a lot of the fitting and turning stuff as well. And then also John at Spider Engineering, who's also helped out along the way. So guys, this is the car. I'm going to give you a walk around, start it up. The car is for sale. It's something that's making at 530 horsepower at the rear wheels at 15 psi. It's making around 1200 newton meters at the wheels as well on 35-inch tires. We've got a 4L80E gearbox in it, built for 1000 horsepower. We've got a baby stall converter in it, sitting at 2000 RPMs. It's a double lock-up converter that's been built to handle the power and the torque. It's a 13-inch stall converter in it. We've got a Ricky's tail shaft in it. We've got the Nissan rear diff conversion from the 4.8 ST, which is twin rear discs on the rear end, and we've done a conversion that way because it's an 11-inch diff. It's much bigger and stronger. It's got 50 mil axles in it, so it's much bigger and stronger than your average Ford 9-inch. What else have I got to say about the car? Well, we've got a Walbro 525 in-tank fuel pump. We've got Turbo Smart blow-off valve, Turbo Smart external wastegate that's been plumbed back in as well. BBK throttle bodies. We've got Edelbrock runners on a TPI injection system, 1600cc Bosch injectors running off an Elite 2000. The Elite 2000 was put in by myself. We've got an ICE ignition. We've got a Haltac dash. We've got a TCI hand controller to run the gearbox as well. This car is, with a second fuel pump in it, is more than capable of making over 1000 horsepower. Also, it's got an EFI E85 sniffer ready to go in line. To make 1000 horsepower, we need to upgrade to put in a second fuel pump and put in 8AN lines, dash 8AN lines. The 6AN's just not getting quite enough flow there. At the moment, I've got the boost turned down, and it's taken a bit of timing around because it's a nightmare to drive on the road, as you can imagine. We've got Dobson springs in it, Bilston shocks. We've got an 80 series brake booster on it, 1-inch master cylinder on it. We've got 4-spot calipers up the front end out of a Hilux Surf, WRX brakes up in the front end. List goes on and on. Aftermarket wheel studs, just handcrafted front bumper bar. Absolutely everything that you see on this car is, like I said, there's not one bit that I have not been involved in. I've had the car for the last 12 years and been building it over the last 12 years. Motor was built by Russ at Dominator Engines. All the cylinder work, head work, was performed by myself. Got oversized valves, got a 5-angle valve cut, managed to get a couple of get a radius in there as well. The heads have been heavily ported, got about 80 hours into the heads in port work alone. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. We've got a custom crow cam that's set up to really make a lot of torque. This thing will spool at 3000 RPM, and it makes its peak torque at around about 3500 RPM. Revs out cleanly to about 5500. You can push it to 6, no problems. If you want to go a bit more than 6, well, we can stage the boost accordingly to really push into the cam. The cam will sort of run out of legs at about 6200, that kind of thing. Bit of a story is with those TPI systems is they make a lot of torque, but they run out of legs up in the top end, but you can overcome that by staging the boost. We've got a Haltac boost controller in it as well. So let's have a walk around the car, guys, and I'll explain to you what's going on. Okay, as you can see, we've got a big monster front mount, as big as I could possibly squeeze in there. It's 100mm thick, and this thing is keeping ambient temperatures. Even in the middle of summer, I've never seen over 30. Currently today, we're in the middle of middle of autumn, heading into winter in Australia here, and I'm seeing around 17 degrees Celsius while she's blowing through the wind. Here we go. So there is your Bilston shocks, as you can see there. As you might be able to just see, I've taken out the center diff at the moment. I'm running it in 2-wheel drive. It can go back to 4-wheel drive with a bit of fabrication. We've got a monster starter motor out of a big block Chevy. Okay, what else can we see around here? That scoop is a pickup for one of the three automatic transmission coolers that I've got in the car. We've got a monster transmission cooler here, and we also have a transmission cooler there that's running a thermofan that is set to 180 degrees Fahrenheit to kick in. There is your Ricky's tail shaft. It's about the biggest tail shaft that you could possibly get. More Dobson springs. Here is a inline fuel filter. Okay, there is your 4-inch exhaust. Running down the back there, and obviously this is your 11-inch diff. I don't know if we can quite catch that all the way over there. Let's go 1, 2, 3, and there's your rear disc brakes assembly, running up to your handbrake line that was set up by Joe Stavala. Thank you to Joe for setting up and fabricating this diff into the car. Obviously Ricky at Ricky's Tail Shafts did the tail shaft, and Joe has also assisted in setting up the gearbox and that type of thing. All right, underneath there, if we can look, we've got a gated race sump that holds 10 litres of oil. Okay, so this thing, I have managed to, with a big stall converter, I have managed to actually lift the wheels on this car when it all comes together. This thing is no slouch. This is a monster car. We've got a 2-inch body lift, as you can see, and now we'll start having a walk around. If you look at the fuel tank, I've got the fuel tank. Can we see it? Yeah, we can. There we go. That's ready to run a secondary fuel pump, ready in line if we wanted to do it, which I haven't got. And the other fuel pump is there's an inspection plate in the top. Let me come out. There's an inspection plate in the top of the factory fuel tank running an in-tank Walbro 525 inside the factory swell pot to make sure that this thing is not starving of fuel. Rightio. Let's have a walk around the car. As you can see, there is virtually no rust in this car. There is virtually no rust. There is no rust in the roof rails, where the 60 series is notorious for getting rust. If we're going to pick on any faults, and it's factory paint too, by the way, okay, that's the only one little spot of rust there. There's a little scratch here. There's an unfortunate scratch on the door, which really pisses me off. A little bit of rust just kicking there, and a little bit of flaky paint that's just kicked off. The rest of this car, there is no rust. Nothing in any of the doors. Nothing anywhere. And the reason being, you can't quite see that, but there's a sticker here that says that this has been treated, filled up in these little weep holes. There's your inspection hole there and there. Back in the day, she was fully fish oiled from the factory. Let's have a walk around the car. All right. The car does have some hail damage on it. There we go. Okay. I'm going to be straight and honest with you. It's original paint. The car does have some hull damage on it. There's not much I can do about it until we get this thing repainted. I've gone through and replaced most of the bright work. Okay, I haven't replaced this piece. There's a couple little dings and dents on it. This piece has been renewed. I brought these in from Japan. Just this one piece from here going down there was $700 imported from Japan, from Toyota. So it's a lot of money. Let's pop the bonnet. Okay, inside the motor, aluminium radiator. We've got the monster core intercooler running through here. It's coming out through there. It's a short little runner coming out through the top. I haven't managed to get the pipes powder coated yet. It's something that I'm had and modified and had to get to work properly, and blah 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 blah. We've got the S400 Borg Warner turbo with a turbo blanket. Exhaust is wrapped going down into us. Turbo Smart wastegate. We've got the ICE high spark ignition, ICE distributor. We've got the ICE modulator inside the cabin. There is your fuel rail. The fuel rails are underneath the Edelbrock runners, and we've got 1600cc Bosch injectors with the BBK throttle body, twin throttle body. We have twin AU factory fans. They are not cheap Chinese copies. They are the factory ones from Ford that have been placed into the motor vehicle with custom mounts. These things run 3,500 CFM per cycle, and they keep the car steadily cool at what was the temperature? Around about 80 degrees, 85 degrees Celsius. Here are your brake booster. That's out of a Landcruiser 80 series. Landcruiser 80 series. One-way valve, because we had an issue with it holding vacuum because of because of the cam, and B, because it was the diesel originally. You know, all the fuel pump relays and regulators, and list goes on and on and on and on. As you can see, I'm using twin ram horns to get this thing to fire up. We could do with a catch can to get this thing breathing and having it plumb back into there with a PVC valve. You can do that on another tune. I'm happy to suck into the fumes into the car and get high as a kite when I'm driving down the freeway, because I'm mental. So guys, this is pretty much all what we're talking about with the car. Let's have a look at it. Light her up. Haltech dash. Let's go in for a quicker look. Let's start her up. All right. This is the to go into the handheld controller for the TCI, which you can manually change all the parameters on, and that's the power plug for it. This here goes straight into the Haltech to plug your laptop in to muck around with the maps. We've got everything sitting inside the glove box. We've got a Camwolf sound system. If you look at the videos at the back, we've got some Rockford Foreskate. Some old school Rockford Foreskate, the real ones, the original from back in the 90s when they were the duck scuts. I brought them. They're in the car. Planet audio, and a little bit of a kick and sub just for a bit of fun in there. We've got the original spare. One of the five matching Pro Comp wheels to match in, and 4-inch exhaust. That's gassing me out. I'll take you around the other side. The Haltech is deeply mounted right in the back there. I've set this all up. There's the other part of the ICE ignition. Okay, it's all in there. It might look like a bird's nest, but trust me, it's not. It's everything's been placed in there and it's kept cool because the Haltech can run a bit hot as well when you're ramping it up. Also, I've had to change the alternator up multiple times until I got the right amperage because everything was sucking juice out of this thing like she's going out of fashion. Rightio. Remember, this is on 10 pounds of boost. This is on 10 pounds of boost, and I've taken out a lot of total timing, taken out the timing out of it. I'll give you a quick squirt up and down the street of this thing. It's on Club Rego too, by the way, guys.